What's up YouTube? Back in today with another video, and today we're going to be working on some Toyota goodness. Today we're going to be working on a Toyota Soarer. This is a little bit different to what I usually work on. Usually working on my own cars, which are all Fords. This Toyota in particular is owned by my sister, and like I was saying, it's a Toyota Soarer. It's a 4-litre V8 quad cam, and we are working on the suspension today. So we're going to be pulling apart the front end at least. We're going to do the lower control arm bushes. It recently just went in for a warrant of fitness, which is like a roadworthy inspection, and it failed on the lower control arm bushes because they'd perished. So we're going to pull those out today, get them changed over to some aftermarket replacement bushes, which we've managed to get from Hardrace. We'll swap those into the arms, and then we'll chuck the arms back in and probably do a service on it as well while the car's up in the air. So yeah, without further ado, let's go get stuck into getting some work done on this car. So what we're doing today is getting access to this lower control arm here. It's because we need to replace the bushes front and rear. A little bit hard to see in here, but inside this bush here is all cracked. So this rubber in here needs to be replaced. The front one's okay, but we're going to replace it anyway while it's out, because it's a pain in the ass to get this arm out to do it twice, so we'll do it all in one shot. So yeah, we'll spray some degreaser and clean up these eccentric washers so we can mark them, and then we'll remove everything and try and keep it all in the same spot when we reinstall it. So what we want to do is mark these somewhere so that you've got like a reference line, so you can put these back in roughly the same position so it's not throwing the alignment out too much. Just put a mark as a reference, whichever side is easier, but I want to just basically mark a line on the washer and a line on the subframe, just so you can line it up again in that same position. Like in theory, putting it back close to where these lines would be, that would get your alignment fairly close. Ideally, you'd still want to take it for an alignment afterwards anyway. So now that everything's marked up and we know exactly where we want to put things back to, we can start pulling things apart. So basically what we need to do is remove everything that's bolted to this lower arm. So the sway bar link, we're going to have to drop that. There's a 14mm nut there holding the sway bar link into this mount that's actually attached to the lower control arm. We need to remove the lower shock mounting bolt. Just a simple nut and bolt that needs to be removed. Then we can pop that out and free the strut. What else do we need? Now if I just turn this around here, we also have a lower ball joint that we need to disconnect. So the ball joint's down here. This is where it locks into the knuckle. So a little split pin there, we just need to remove that, undo that nut there, and then we're going to get a hammer and give that a bit of a whack on the knuckle itself, not the ball joint, the knuckle. That should shock the taper loose, and then we'll be able to turn our attention to the mounting bolts and nuts for the actual lower control arm to the subframes. So obviously we have one just here and the other one at the rear of the arm, which is just here. So we'll slowly work our way through doing all of that, and then we should be able to get the arm out of the way. Out of the way. Okay, so now we are going to start working on the lower ball joint. So first of all, we need to pop out this little split pin thing. So get a screwdriver, you can sort of just put it into this little loop at the top here, pop that out the side, and then, oh shit, I have to find where that went. Just down here. So just need to pop that split pin out. Now we've got access to this castle nut here. That should be a 22mm. So get the breaker bar on the end of that, we'll loosen that off. Jesus. Okay, I can stop. Now you don't want to loosen this all the way off. Well, you can if you want, but I usually just loosen it off enough. Somewhere about there, just so it's at the top of the thread. And now we're going to smack that with a hammer. Alright, we off. Okay, so we've got both the lower control arms out, and this is why we're replacing the bushings. So this side is fine. This side here is also fine. This side, however, not so good. That is cracked the entire way through. That should have very minimal movement. And because that's cracked, that is ready to fall apart, just like this one, which is probably even worse. So we need to replace both of those. Alright, so new day. These bushes are a bit of a pain in the ass to remove, and I really don't have the patience, so we're going to go drop these off to a local workshop, and hopefully they can press them out for us and press the new bushes in. So made a start on it at least. And in terms of the new bushes, we're just going with some Hardrace branded replacements. These are actually hardened rubber, they're not a polyurethane bush, so yeah, should be a bit firmer than stock and a lot better than that. So back in again, a little bit of a delay between the last part of this video and now. This is 2 weeks later. And we've got the arms back now. I ended up taking them out to a mechanic to get the bushes swapped out. Long story short, we had some problems there. Basically the bushes were pressed from the wrong side, so we had to get them removed and popped back around the other way. These bushes are slightly offset, and if they're in the wrong position, they won't actually go in. They don't actually fit back into the subframes, so we've had to get the bushes flipped around. Upon doing this, we made a discovery on these. They're not actually hardened rubber like I said they were. They're actually a spherical bearing, so there's absolutely no play in these at all, which is kind of good, kind of bad. That means it's a little bit harder to try and manipulate where these sit in terms of trying to flex them to fit into the subframes. So I had no hope in trying to flex them to try and get them to shift and fit where they needed to fit. Anyway, we've got them fixed now, so it's all good. Just doing a bit of a tidy up on these at the moment. So that's what they looked like previously. Ugly. After a bit of a clean, water blast and some matte black, they look pretty tidy. So I'll do that on this one, give it a clean up, paint it, and then we'll chuck that back in the car and get it all set up. Now what we'll do, we'll let those sit for overnight, let the paint dry, and then first thing tomorrow morning we'll chuck them back in. Hopefully get the car back on the ground tomorrow, because I want to try and get this car back on the road, as in get it sent out for a warrant of fitness and hopefully get it back on the road legally. So fingers crossed, that's going to be the target for the end of this week. Alright, so time to put this arm back in. Hey, Casey, are you coming to help? I'll take that as a no. So this has got to go back in. Gonna need all these tools to do it. It's all pretty straightforward really, but yeah, I'll put this on time lapse and we'll chuck everything back together. Alright, so chuck these camber bolts back in, and then take note of where the alignment settings were and line them up. Likewise with this one, so it's got to be there, and then this is the washer for the backside, and that's key as well, so it can only go onto the bolt one way. Check that out the backside. Then we've got a nut and a washer. So the washer goes on and the nut goes on. We'll just get that started for now. So I just put a bolt on there, so that's my mark there, and that's where it was lined up with last time. So you'll see the way the arm moves when I rotate this through. So this is how the eccentric washer works. Sort of set spacing the arm out that way. Then if you rotate it in, the arm gets pulled back in. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there. It's going to get realigned anyway, so just tighten it up there and yeah, see how it is when we go for an alignment. Now in terms of the rest of the setup, we have the lower shock bolt there, so it comes through from the other side of that bracket there. So according to factory spec, it's tightened to about 140 newton meters. We've got the little sway bar link that goes through the bracket as well. It links the sway bar to the lower arm. So there's a nut on the opposite side. Gonna have to use an Allen key and a 14mm ring spanner to tighten that together. So that's pretty much that, and then obviously the ball joint nut as well, so we've got to tighten that up shitloads and then put a split pin through it. Can't actually remember the setting on this. I think it's about 140 newton meters as well, but realistically it's probably overkill. As long as it's tight as you can get it, and then put the split pin through, should be fine. And then these buggers here, so I'll have to do my research on this, because according to factory spec it's supposed to be 226 newton meters, which I think is ridiculous, but who knows, could be right. Now this one here, you align from the back side, and my mark is actually over here, so I've got to bring that down a bit, so about there. So, the job done. So, I've got the lower arms in now, everything's torqued up to spec. So, we'll chuck the wheels back on, get those all bolted up, and then chuck it back down on the ground. In the meantime, I'm going to enjoy this beer that my uncle left us. Anyway, let's go put these wheels back on, get it back down on the ground. I've got to put the front bumper, lights, everything back on the front end of the car as well now. It's booked in for a wheel alignment tomorrow, so we'll get that checked over, and then hopefully next week take it in for a warrant of fitness, and then fingers crossed that's another car back on the road that's legal. So alright, next piece of the puzzle, we're going to put the front bumper and all the headlights and everything back together. Now you're probably wondering, why the hell did we take the front bumper off the car? This is why. We ended up taking all the front end off so we could get access to the high beam lights, because they're bolted in from behind. Why did we take the lights out, you ask? This is why. got reconditioned. Shout out to Akimbo for hooking it up with that. He was running a good special a couple of months ago. Might still have the special on at the moment. Basically where he re-clears your headlights for like 50 bucks. Yeah, did a mean job on this. So should look the part on the front end at least. The headlights on these cars are really bad for going yellow, especially after all these years. Yeah, the plastic just deteriorates and starts getting cloudy and whatnot. So best thing to do is just sand it all back and get it recoated and re-cleared or UV coated or whatever the process is. So yeah, these things look pretty mint. So just put the corner lights in, just cleaning up the indicators, so I'll fit those back. If you've done any work on a Z30 Soarer or any early 90s Soarer, you'll know how easy some of the bolts and brackets and whatnot get rusted out. That was the case with this one. There's a little strip that goes along the top of the front bumper to cover over all the mounts. Every single one of those bolts was rusted to the point we've had to drill them out, so just got some replacement screws for it so I can mount all of those back in. A couple of the brackets actually are part of the high beam assembly as well, so those need to be in there, so chuck those back in there as well. Then we've got a couple of screws that I've got to drill out in the front bumper support panel. Then I can fit some new bolts in there as well. So this is what we're working with right now. Just put these corner lights in there and there. Just sorting out the brackets, so that's where they were. Just up here, so they're all rusted. Now it's a shame I've got to put all of this on the car just to get it legal and then take it all off again, because this car's actually going to go in for a respray this year sometime. So it's all going to come back apart again, but you know, it is what it is. You can't take a car in for an inspection with no front bumper apparently. So we will put all this stuff back in and then yeah. And by strip bolts, that's exactly what I mean. So yeah, pretty much got to drill all of these out and yeah, clean up the threads again. Alright, so car's all back together. Gonna chuck the battery back in, take it out for a drive, see how it is. Fingers crossed all as well, because it's booked in for an alignment tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So yeah, go take it for a spin and see how she goes. So, we shoot off, try and get this thing well aligned. Drove it last night, it actually drives pretty straight, so it might not need too much adjustment in the alignment, but it's always good to do it. So Soarer's back from alignment. Everything is a-okay. It actually didn't need much, a little bit of a toe adjustment to bring it back into spec, but apart from that, not bad, not bad. Shout out to Colin from No Cam's Performance and Tyre Centre. He's always hooking it up with the wheel alignments for my cars. The man does a good job, so go and see him if you need a wheel alignment, tyres, whatever. So yeah, so that brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully next time we do some work on the Soarer, it'll be getting slammed and we'll be putting some different wheels on it, because my sister's got some pretty cool wheels lined up for this thing. It's going to go in for a Warrant of Fitness next week, so fingers crossed it passes. Then that car will be street legal again for another 6 months at least. Thanks for watching, guys. If you are watching this, appreciate you guys for checking in. I know it's a little bit out of the ordinary having a JDM car on the channel, but it is what it is. We're going to be doing a hell of a lot more work on this car this year, so stay tuned for that if you are interested in the Toyota Soarer platform. I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of my holidays now, the last few days that I have left at least. So yeah, we'll be getting back into the content in February with the rest of my cars, so yeah, looking forward to that. So stay tuned. Till next time, chit chat.